TC 16813. This innocuous set of letters and numbers is the official name of a law passed in the Dominican Republic 2.5 years ago, a law that turned a long-held set of prejudices into government-sanctioned discrimination. It was aimed at the people of Haitian descent living in the Dominican Republic, and it's made a poor relationship even worse. Clarivel Ruiz will tell us more about that. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me be here.
She's organized right here in New York to try to bridge the gap between Haitians and Dominicans. It's called Dominicans Love Haitians. It's full of music and poetry, and it happens again later this month. And Yes, later this month.
Well, we're out to create that. That's one of the things that we're out to do.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
Well, then Steve Azor is actually the CEO of a theatrical show, Ayiti Deploge. Welcome to BK Live.
Thank you for the You said it, you pronounced it very well.
Thank you.
That was better than me.
You know, the sweat is on the inside. So all of the name butchering aside, why do you think it was important to sort of make this bridge between the two cultures?
In 2009, when I went down to the Dominican Republic with my mom and my dad, my father actually, he actually spoke, and he was like, my grandmother was Haitian. And I was like, what? And I had never known this information.
And you were a grown woman?
And I'm a grown, I was a grown woman. And I was like, all of my life, I have never known that this part of you was kept in secret, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this is a man who was born in the 1930s when Trujillo was in power, and so it was something that people probably didn't want to talk about, right? And then in that moment, my mom said, well, if I would have known that, I would never have married you. And I was like, oh my God, this is a woman who has professed, right? This is after 50 years of marriage. I'm like, all of a sudden, you're not gonna wanna marry this man because he's Haitian? And I was like, this is pretty devastating to know that you would take away this love that you have for this man, all that you've created inside of this idea that of being Haitian.
And she was serial. This wasn't one of these, she wasn't like, making me sick today.
No, it wasn't one of those. If she really was serious about that.
That would have been
something that she wouldn't have done when they were 18 and 21.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, I realized, you know, it had always been a conversation in our household. You know, my father, we would be like, but aren't you black? And he's like, no, I'm Indian. And I literally would be like, I hate to break it to you, but here in this country, in the United States, you're considered black, right. You know, and unfortunately, even if you're Indian to some extent here in this country is even worse than black. Yeah. So I don't know if you really want to walk around with that kind of mentality. Right. So fast forward, you know, so it had always been with me. So the conversation of like the other, the blackness, had always been with me, right? And so I had been marinating with this, like what to do, what to do, and so finally, you know, when the words came together, when I finally concluded in Dominicans Love Haitians, it was like the switch flipped, and it was finally like, yes, you know, it's important to use art to provide a platform for us to share and celebrate our commonalities versus what we always talk. What's always talked about is, oh, you're different, your language is different, your culture is different. It's like, no, we share so much. Right. And it's time for us to start distinguishing what we share versus like always talking about the separates.
So Steve, just sitting across the table from that story, hearing all of this inherent conflict that happens in one family in a car ride versus between an island that's sort of split down the middle, the creative juices have to start flowing in your brain.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I love the name, the way she put it, Dominicans Love Haitian. It automatically, in a sense, brings the attention and might even be controversial because a lot of the time it's the opposite. The Haitians love the Dominicans. They're always over there, you know, they vacation over there. It's not only because of the situation in their country, but even in the music. Haitians listen to Dominican music. We drink Dominican beer. We do, you know, we don't mind sharing the island. Right. But it seems like in Dominican Republic, you can't find a Haitian beer, which is a world-renowned medal-winning beer, okay? Same thing with the foods. Same thing with so many things that's coming out of Haiti. Right. We'll get more support from any other nation than
your neighbors.
Our neighbors. Yeah. And it's great the way you said, bridging the gap between the two islands, between the two countries. That's one island, and it is separated, but it's really incredible. So when she spoke to my wife Joyce about maybe getting some artists, I'm like, I have a plethora of
So
of
let's talk about these collaborations. What kind of moments happen? What are the musical and artistic sort of connections that are sparked?
Well, it worked out, I guess, in some respect perfectly, because we had these Haitian artists. We had the Haitian artists singing, and I had Dominican poets. So here, for me, when I was attempting to find other Dominicans, what I noted online was that there are a lot of Haitians who speak to, the identity, to the culture, to being the other, to whatever conversations, narratives that have existed. And I was like, where is that voice for Dominicans? I was like, where is it? I mean, I'm a poet, I'm a writer. There's a voice here, but I was like, where is there in my fellow Dominicans? And then in finding them, I was like, oh, finally there is our story now really being told, like how we see ourselves as Black, how we don't see ourselves as this separate, how we can be united. This island existed as one island before the colonialism came and decided that we would change the name, we would, commit genocide to a group of people, and then another colonial entity saying, well, we want this part of the island so that we can create an infrastructure for ourselves. So it's just like this place existed as one. So and as I see it, we should exist as one. We should benefit from our mutual infrastructure, our economic infrastructure.
Benefit from our differences also that can actually help us and develop the whole island more. I mean, it's okay to be different, but you also have to have respect and responsibility with their differences, and not to only. Sorry for interrupting you, but not to only talk about Dominican. I feel that because they're the closest to us is on one island, and because of deportation that's going on, but it's also like that with Puerto Rican and the whole Latin America towards their darker. Members in their own family.
He doesn't know in the boundaries. But one thing that may be lost on a lot of people of color in the American context, particularly African American Black folks, is that they were unaware of this sort of split. And when it came into the news and when the law came down, a lot of people for the first time heard about the tensions in a really blatant way that put it out there. So I wonder what sort of outreach outside of the Dominican and Haitian communities here, what the sort of responses have been. Have people been like, oh, wow, I didn't know this was a thing, or tell me more?
I saw some protests going on in front of the UN, stuff like that. I mean, it's almost kind of like the equivalent of if here in the United States, what's the exact date? Is it the 20s or the 30s, they said, up into
1929 is 1929 up until 1929.
Okay, 29, so up into 1929, even if you're born in this country, you're not from this country.
Yeah.
So how many of our I mean, that's what it would say.
Yeah.
Now, we come here, we're all, immigrants, like they say, but from 1929, you're still, how many generations is that? And they're saying, no, you have to leave. And it's basically, and I don't think it's only the dark complexion, right? It's just period. If you have this ounce of blood, that is something that the whole world.
You have to have documentation.
You have to prove one of your
grandmother's
one of your parents has to be Dominican. And so it's just like, well, if you don't have any money to be able to declare that, then what happens? If you don't have any money to be able to get this identification card, then what? And like, as you said, it's like if you're 80 years old, you're now going to be,
gotta go.
A lot of these, I'm going to call them Dominicans. A lot of these Dominicans don't know anything about Haiti. They don't speak the language. They've never been to Haiti. They're Dominican. If we went by laws like how we have them here in the United States, you're born there, you have kids there, and then they have kids, the grandkids.
That's it.
That holds all three of y'all out. You don't know nothing about wherever it is your great-grandparents came from, but now they're just, and it's like, what do you get? And where's the voice from the rest of the world? Where's democracy? How does this flow into, what we're trying to promote here?
So you guys are using your voices here in the context of the Dominicans Love Haitians show. How is this coming together again? How are we going to be able to experience it in our city?
I'm looking for a space in Brooklyn right now. That's what I'm creating.
I'd like to move it around. I'd like to move it around all the boroughs and Long Island and Jersey too, especially Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens.
My
it'd be
vision
nice.
is that we have this in every city where we have clusters of Dominicans and Haitians, and that in the summer I'm planning on going to the Dominican Republic to work with youth so that I can hear from them, like what is their perspective on this, so that they can really speak to their narrative, speak to their truths, because I think so much our beliefs are associated with other opinions, versus like really looking at what are our values, what are our beliefs, and solidifying that. Versus it being told to us all the time.
Yeah, I think that's taught to them. It's not. I mean, from the young age, my god sister's Dominican. I'm the godfather of her child. She's the godmother of my child, and we just, growing up, I just knew so much about the Dominican culture, but I didn't know so much about that part because their family took me in, and we took each other in. As we were literally, it actually made us closer because we were from the same island. Okay. So it wasn't until I started going to Haiti and I saw a documentary on PBS and stuff like that I was able to really say, wow, there's like a real hatred going back and forth.
Well, you guys have run us right up until the last moment. Thank you so much for being here. We'll check out the website, Dominican Love Haitians.